Coming up on 5 Minute News. Sanders and Biden meet as infrastructure bill swells past $3.5 trillion. Police patrol Havana after rare protests. And England's black players face racial abuse after Euro 2020 defeat. It's Tuesday, July 13. I'm Anthony Davis. Emerging from a private meeting at the White House, Senator Bernie Sanders said on Monday that he and President Joe Biden are on the same page as Democrats draft a transformative infrastructure package, unleashing more than $3.5 trillion in domestic investments on par with the New Deal of the 1930s. Sanders, chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, and Democrats on his panel also huddled privately at the Capitol for 2 hours late on Monday with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and key White House advisors during a consequential time for Biden's top priority. Congress is racing to put together a sweeping proposal financing infrastructure, family assistance, and other programs for initial votes later this month. Sanders said he had a very good discussion with Biden. He knows and I know that we're seeing an economy where the very, very rich are getting richer while working families are struggling. Sanders said he and the president did not discuss a top-line figure, but the Vermont senator mentioned his own more far-reaching $6 trillion proposal, which includes expanding Medicare for older adults. Later at the Capitol, he told reporters that the Democrats' package would be bigger than the $3.5 trillion, an amount floated as in line with Biden's initial proposal. Large contingents of Cuban police patrolled the capital of Havana on Monday following rare protests around the island nation against food shortages and high prices amid the coronavirus crisis. Cuba's president said the demonstrations were stirred up on social media by Cuban Americans in the United States. Sunday's protests marked some of the biggest displays of anti-government sentiment in the tightly controlled country in years. Cuba is going through its worst economic crisis in decades, along with a resurgence of coronavirus cases, as it suffers the consequences of U.S. sanctions imposed by former President Donald Trump's administration. Many young people took part in demonstrations in Havana. Protests were also held elsewhere on the island, including the small town of San Antonio de los Banos. Authorities appeared determined to put a stop to the demonstrations. More than a dozen protesters were detained, including a leading Cuban dissident who was arrested trying to attend a march in the city of Santiago, 559 miles east. The demonstrators disrupted traffic in the capital for several hours until some threw rocks and police moved in and broke them up. In a statement on Monday, U.S. President Joe Biden said Cuban protesters were asserting their basic rights. "We stand with the Cuban people and their clarion call for freedom and relief from the tragic grip of the pandemic and from the decades of repression and economic suffering to which they have been subjected to by Cuba's authoritarian regime," Biden said. The demonstrations were extremely unusual on an island where little dissent against the government is tolerated. The last major public demonstration of discontent over economic hardship took place nearly 30 years ago, in 1994. 3 black players in the England soccer team have been subjected to a storm of online racist abuse after their defeat in the final of Euro 2020, drawing wide condemnation from the squad's captain, manager, royalty, religious leaders, and politicians. Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho and Bukayo Saka were the targets of the abuse after they missed spot kicks in a penalty shootout with Italy, which settled Sunday's final after the game finished as a 1-1 draw. The comments have prompted a police investigation and wide condemnation, although critics accused some ministers of hypocrisy for refusing to support a high-profile anti-racist stance the players had made during the tournament. The England team have earned praise for their stand against racism, while a number of players have also campaigned on other social causes. The multiracial makeup of the squad has been hailed as reflecting a more diverse modern Britain. The team had highlighted the issue of racism by taking the knee before all their matches, a protest made by American football quarterback Colin Kaepernick and followed by the Black Lives Matter movement last year, saying it was a simple show of solidarity against racial discrimination. However, some fans have booed the gesture, with critics viewing it as a politicization of sport and expression of sympathy with far-left politics. Some ministers have been accused of hypocrisy for refusing to criticize for those who booed and using it as part of a wider culture war, often portrayed as a rift between those wanting to protect Britain's heritage from a woke youth who see their elders as blocking moves to end racial and social injustice. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen Podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.